What do we really know about recovery? How many libraries could we fill if we just put the scientific knowledge base of recovery? What do you think the odds are of their recovery in this environment? So some people said people need recovery conducive educational settings. That the future of addiction treatment and recovery hinges on whether we are successful at that transformation. And that vote isn't in yet. Are you with me? Number sixth area of practice, really is the issue of Locus, where we deliver services. In the modern history of addiction treatment, we've become very institution-based. We have fallen in love with our buildings. And you know what? The nice thing is they're much nicer than they were when I started, I assure you. So the general theme is if you call me and say, Bill, my brother's drinking himself to death, my general stance is, will he come talk to me? Can you bring him to me? Can you bring his family to me? The issue is, how do we get that person from their world into the world of treatment? Sound right? I mean, that's mostly what we're trying to do, is get people to come to us. In that process, we have had, as we've disconnected from those environments, we have had a fairly weak understanding of the physical and cultural environment in which people are trying to initiate and sustain recovery. One of the projects that I was serving on as an evaluator, and I got a phone call one day, and the director said to me, Bill, my staff are about to kill each other. If you or somebody doesn't get in and take care of some of this conflict, you aren't going to have anything to evaluate. She's very serious. And what she was talking about was this incredible conflict between the counselors, the clinical staff, and the outreach workers. And it was really about what realistic expectations were for women, particularly early in treatment. Where are my child welfare folks at? Where are you at? This was one of these projects. What are the realistic expectations for women in the first 2 to 3 weeks of treatment? And so I went out. I was kind of panicked about it. I didn't want to lose this project as a research site. So I went out, interviewed the outreach workers, we tried a bunch of things. A lot of stuff didn't work. Let me tell you what worked profoundly. We set up a requirement that every therapist in this program had to go visit their client in her natural environment at least once a month. And I'm telling you, the therapist, you'd have thought I'd asked them to commit suicide. Because, I mean, they just about were ready to start. They said, it's not safe out there. And of course, I had to say, let me make sure I understand. Because you're telling me it's not safe for you to go out with the outreach worker at 7:30 in the morning to visit this woman's home before things get busy in that neighborhood. With me? 7:30 in the morning. It's not safe for you. But you're going to throw her out of treatment if she doesn't move through that same environment back and forth to AA or NA meetings 3 times a week between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, well... What do you think happened when we actually got the therapist into those environments? You want to talk about an eye-opener. You want to talk about a humbling experience. The outreach workers knew, but I got to tell you, some of our therapists didn't have a clue in terms of the realities of what it was like in some of these neighborhoods to try to initiate recovery when you're walking through crack vials ankle deep in and out of your apartment. So once we did that, once we began to get them a sense of that environment, they said, well, they can't recover there. We got to get them out of there, right? And for some of them, that might have been a realistic goal, but it's not a realistic goal for every single one of them. Because you know what it kind of said? There's a hidden message here. When we began to do that, we said either we have to find a recovery conducive environment, or we have to create one in that natural world. And pretty soon everybody kept going out and saying, oh man, nobody can recover in that world. Nobody. So we got to send them out to the suburbs. We're going to send them out to go into recovery homes out there where they can see what stable life and good quality recovery looks like. What's the message? If you're an African American, the message was you got to leave your culture and you got to leave your people to be able to enter recovery. I think that's a horrible message. Because it simply ain't true. But they may be right in the sense there ain't any recovery in that 16 square blocks. So the issue becomes, how do we take recovery to that 16 square block? Some of the most dynamic recovery ministries that I've encountered in the past year are ministries that began, where's Jim? Where are you at here? Oh, there you are. I couldn't see you. You can tell my eyesight's bad at this point in my life. That began where they'd had a religious recovery community, if you will, that was sort of facility or institution based. And they began to move out of that and said, we got to move back out of our world into the life of our community. And to do that, they begin saying, we're seeing a significant number of clients in this particular area of a city. Maybe we need to take our ministry to the very heart of that community. And so what they began doing was going in and working with the city to buy up condemned houses. And guess what? When crack houses get condemned, the police get to own them, right? So guess what? They went and said, will you transfer ownership of these facilities that have been drug houses and let us turn them into recovery homes? So what do you think happens over time? I mean, those early pioneers, these are rough days, I'm telling you. You were talking about pioneers, the people who take the first 12 to 18 months to go in to launch these ministries. These are my heroes. But once they get that thing percolating, what do you think happens block by block? You can virtually transform a drug-infested community where we're actually talking about the community is now recovering, right? And people are coming out of the community and offering ways they can support this process. Now, when somebody's addicted inside that community, the issue is not we need to take them out of the community, but what? Because the big question is not how do I get them from their world to my world? The ultimate issue is how do I nest the process of recovery in that environment? And if that environment is so toxic, then we need a broader community strategy to change and help that community recover. So what do we do? Locus of service delivery, we begin to talk about a lot more home-based, neighborhood-based, community-based services. A lot of people won't come see us in a specialized addiction. I'm not just talking about this in terms of communities, poor communities of color in particular, where we would work with local neighborhood community organizations. I'm talking about doing this in some of the most affluent communities in Atlanta. And you know what? You can't do that with an addiction-specific agency because the stigma is such they won't come. So how are you going to do it? You're going to infiltrate. Everybody hear me? You're going to infiltrate. You're going to say, how do we nest? Where can we find and begin to build pockets of recovery inside institutions that are not stigmatized? So if we got a women's health clinic, guess what we're going to do? We're going to offer a half-time staff person to work and provide recovery support services and education for women who come through that clinic. Where else? Churches. Recreational facilities. Yeah,